Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am pretty sure this is going to be the first podcast recorded in my new home. So if you're watching on YouTube and you see a different background, it's looking pretty blank and basic at the moment, but I only moved a few weeks ago and the office is lower on my priority list. I'm just really wanting my garden to be done. Not that the weather has been good, because it has not in England. And even if the garden was ready, I wouldn't want to sit out there in the pouring rain, but I want somewhere for Norman to go, who is my little puppy dog. And I might need to do an actual life update episode. I don't want to take too much time out of this intro. But yeah, that is why I'm in my new place. Hopefully the audio quality is good. I might try and use my proper microphone again soon, because my last place it was too echoey. But because this is a bit of a smaller room, lower ceilings, it might work well. So hello everyone. Today's episode, we're going to be going quite sciencey on the subjects of energy, quantum physics, vibrations, emotions, like all of this stuff, which to you might not seem very sciencey, but today's guest actually explains why it is science. It's not total woo-woo. This energy medicine stuff is real. If you haven't looked into it yet, you absolutely need to, especially if you're one of those people struggling with your health issues and you feel like you've tried it all. I always seem to get the guests with the longest names in the world on, so I'm going to try and pronounce his name now, but we can call him Philipp from now onwards. But his name is Philipp von Holtzendorff-Fehling, I'm pretty sure. I didn't clarify the pronunciation, so apologies, Philipp, if you're listening, and that I totally butchered it, but I did my best. So for those who don't know Philipp, he is a coach, a conscious entrepreneur, an alpha chi teacher, and energy healer. In parallel to a successful international business career, he constantly worked through his blockages and barriers that prevented him to connect fully with his true self. And with that, he also started to see energy fields and developed a unique skill as a healer, which we'll talk more about in the episode. But during his business career, he worked as an executive and board member for several well-known companies, including T-Mobile International and US, where he served as vice president. He is the founder of Leela, Quantum Tech, and Quantum Upgrade. This episode is honestly mind-blowing, and listening back, I just said the same thing. I was like, this is so fascinating, like this is amazing. But I honestly I was lost for words, because my brain just was not shocked, because I fully believe in this stuff, but I was like, oh my God, why do people not know more about this? So apologies if you listen to the episode and it's me just fangirling the whole time and just being gobsmacked, but that's how it was. And I really hope you love the episode. We cover a ton of different things. Philipp goes into his journey a little bit more, and then he talks about his products, so his company Leela Quantum Tech, and how these are helping with things like allergies and people being able to eat foods that they've been sensitive to. It helps to neutralize and calm EMFs, which, having worked at T-Mobile, one of the biggest like tech companies in the world, to going this way, it just shows like he obviously knows some stuff, which I think some of the top people do in those industries, but most of them just keep quiet. They're just chasing the money, whereas Philipp is very conscious and is interested and supportive of people's health, thankfully. So we talk about energy, the different emotion energy scale, and how things like hate and fear are on the lower end, and things like love and gratitude are on the higher end. We talked about structured water. We talked about his products and the different studies that they've been through, any like studies coming up, a ton of different things. I won't make this introduction too long, because I really want you to hear what Philipp has to say. And if you want to check out his products, and he also mentions the Telegram group in the episode too. I'll link that in the show notes if you want to join. I'm definitely going to join, and I really want to try some of his products eventually. He was kind enough to send me across like a little necklace thing he mentions in the episode, and it's got these beads inside, like a little canister. And within the move, I have misplaced it, so it's somewhere in a box in my home. So I know I have it, but I wish I would have had it on for the call, just to promote him and his products a little bit and thank him for sending that across. But yeah, it's in here somewhere, but just with the few weeks that I've had, I wasn't going to go searching through a ton of boxes in my garage to find it. But yeah, I love his stuff. already before even trying it, and it's obviously supporting so many people's lives. So let's get into today's episode on quantum energy and physics and emotional health with my guest Philip. Hello Philip, I'm so excited for our conversation today.
Me too. I'm looking forward to this.
And I've just been telling you, I recently have been talking more about energy and law of attraction and manifestation just because it's completely changed my life. And I've been learning more about the universe and quantum physics and all this crazy stuff. And sometimes it hurts my head a little bit, the complex science, but hopefully today's conversation will simplify things for myself and for the listeners too. But we've just covered your bio and just a brief overview, but I'd love to know a little bit more before we get into the conversation fully, how you got into this work.
Absolutely. So, as you know, I used to be in corporate Europe and corporate US as an executive, up to being vice president at T-Mobile and being board member of a multi-billion-dollar US company until I got out in 2016, where I just couldn't do it anymore. I had to really live fully from the heart in my own calling. But going back a little bit in the early 2000s, I already realized, I think it was really 2000, 2001, I realized that I was unhappy in my life where I was at. I had cut myself off my own emotions and feelings. I discredited my own intuition. And I also discredited in others, frankly, because I didn't really have access to my own intuition anymore. And so I had to make changes, and I realized that I needed to do something about that. So I started with meditation, with yoga. Then I got trained in various shamanic energy healing practices and other energy healing techniques. I learned past life regression work and all of these things, which I never really wanted to do one-on-one sessions with others. I felt that wasn't really what I wanted to do. But I wanted to do it for myself, and I wanted to learn from the best. So I literally tried to always seek the best healers out there in the world, not the Reiki dude across the street, but really some like absolutely super gifted people. And I learned from them. So in 2005, I met my wife, who was born with the ability to see aura and energy fields. She had never lost this conscious connection. And that catapulted me even further into really understanding the quote unquote unseen, the energy behind things, the energy behind the physical. And so I continued to do that. I also became a Kundalini yoga teacher trainer. And yeah, still worked in corporate though. And then in 2016, I got out of it. And then I must say that there's another thing I need to add, because my wife got diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease in 2010. And they told her, you've had it for 5 years and you won't get rid of it. You have to live with it for the end of your life, basically. And we did not accept that. So she certainly had her own abilities, but it sparked in me this passion for biohacking, for bioenergy hacking, to figure out, okay, what is out there that can really bring a system back into balance, whether that's physical, whether that's energetic, really from a holistic standpoint. And so I found my passion in that. Long story short, like, she does not have Lyme disease anymore, completely healed, no after effects whatsoever, no symptoms left. And it helped me, to really get onto this path, how I can help people and what I can contribute. And that's ultimately what led to the development of Leela Quantum Tech and Quantum Upgrade, where we work with super cutting edge quantum technology, which combines this modern tech with ancient healing techniques. And then we combine it with the so-called frequency medicine. And yeah, that's now my passion. That's what I love to do. And yeah, that was my intro here, how I got to that.
That's so cool. And I had a diagnosis, well, I kind of found out myself through lab testing that I had Lyme disease, and that was driving so many of my health issues. And I'd gone, I think, about 5 years undiagnosed. I was going to doctors, they were just saying like, oh, it's a hormone problem, it's this, it's that. And because it kind of affected the whole body, I was just being passed from like expert quote to expert. And no one was like looking at what is going on under the surface. And I went to like this top German lab, and they specialize in Lyme and co-infections. And yeah, sure enough, I had Lyme disease and other co-infections too. And I don't know if you agree, but it sounds like it's kind of the same way that your wife went about it. It's not about like killing the bug. So I'm sure she tried that a lot before the energy work, but I actually started to realize it's more about strengthening your body, strengthening your immune system, your energy, and these infections or these imbalances often just like go under the surface. And who knows if you can fully get rid of the Lyme or if it just lives in harmony with the body. I think it's still up in the air a little bit, but yeah, I'd love to know a little bit more about her symptoms in particular. Like, how was it affecting her?
Yeah, so it affected her on the energy side. So she had a lot of fatigue, and in some cases, really hard fatigue, actually. Then got some issues in regards to pain and arthritis. So arthritis really got especially bad in the winter times when it started to get cold. And so it was a combination of fatigue and pain, right? And yeah, I think that was really the most. And I would agree. So we undertook pretty much everything we could to strengthen her energy system and her body. Now, we do know, though, that, for example, the high vibrational states that are sent out by our block technology, for example, they create an environment that the Lymes just can't exist in the long run, because it's just, they need a very low vibrational environment that is not healthy, actually, in order to flourish. And so that is also something that it plays into that, right? As you create an environment in your body that is healthy, that is good, that is very positive, that is full of high vibrations, then you don't have any issues, with Lyme.
And it's those people, isn't it, who are usually depleted and stressed and already have pre-existing health issues that get bitten by a tick or an insect and they develop symptoms quite quickly. Or it could be that a healthy person is bitten or stung or whatever way that they got it, and they go through a period of stress 5 years later, and that's when it comes to the surface. So it can lay dormant, and that's why you could take a random person off the street, test them, and they might have Lyme but not be symptomatic if they have this high energetic system and the health is pretty good, the toxic load is pretty low overall, versus someone else who is absolutely bedridden with these infections.
Yes.
So it sounds like we're on the same page in terms of the treatment. I think a lot of people are looking to more holistic methods, because up until now, well, some cases of Lyme disease are actually just completely overlooked for such a long time. Doctors aren't really testing for it. They don't believe chronic Lyme disease even exists. They think you have it, you take antibiotics and it's gone, but that's not the case for a lot of people. But even these people who have been got down the conventional route, they're starting to look for alternatives because they're realizing the detrimental effects of the antibiotics and these harsh treatments. So it's nice to know that there's other methods, and I'm sure that there's people out there who haven't even considered this whole world. So that's why I wanted to have you on. And this could be applied to any condition, whether it is Lyme disease or something that I also struggle with was mold toxicity, and how mold in my home that was completely invisible, completely hidden, was also involved in that whole situation of chronic illness. So yeah, that could be the same things could be applied to strengthen the body.
That's very true. And nowadays we just have so many stressors all around at all times, so that the body was originally designed to heal itself, but the body now plays catch up with all of these stressors that it needs to deal with. And that's the key factor, right? Whether you already have a condition and you feel bad because of something, or you don't, doesn't really matter. You want to be in a great position regardless, because if you're not sick yet, well, just keep strengthening your body and your energy system so that you don't get sick and you stay healthy. And if you're sick already, well, then go ahead and do something to actually change some habits, change things, and really get up the strength of your and power of your body again. And yeah, and nowadays it's harder to look through the clutter and figure out what it is actually that we can do. But there's a lot of great things we can do, but we also need to be aware that there are these stressors out there, you know, whether it's bad air, bad food, bad water, EMFs all around, right? So, you know, we live in an EMF soup. Frankly, and unless you're completely off the grid, you can't really avoid it. You know, we have 4G that was already bad. Now there's 5G. You have, you know, the smart meters all around, which add to that significantly. And yeah, you know, I think, you know, the bodies are pretty resilient. So, you know, we can do a lot. We can cover a lot, but it just gets hotter and hotter. And you see that in the increase of autoimmune diseases, obviously, that actually rise significantly in parallel with the rollout of all these different Gs and cell phone towers and technologies and frequencies. Again, just a reminder, I used to work at T-Mobile.
I know, I find that fascinating. It's completely gone like the other way.
Yeah, and so, but at the same time, I you know, it's not like that everyone, you know, at these wireless companies are sitting there and they're all aware, yeah, you know, this is dangerous for
we
people,
love our
and we
phones.
still
Like, it's
roll it out.
amazing that we have this technology at the end of the day. Like, we wouldn't be sitting on a call like this if it wasn't for telecommunications and the internet. So we want to have a nice balance. We don't want to be completely against it, which we're not. But what do we need to know about the dangers of EMF?
Yeah, exactly. And so we need to, and so that's one of the things, certainly that's where the industry falls short, that they don't talk about it or try to, you know, put it underneath the rug. Because of course, if they admitted that there was a problem, it would open up a can of worms, right? So in a way, just looking at it financially, one can maybe understand why they don't really want to talk about it, but it's not helpful, right? Because it's a fact, you know, that it is detrimental to the human body and destructive in a way. You can measure it easily. There's thousands and thousands of independent studies out there that show that. And it's also something we've seen in each and every study, that as soon as you turn on Wi-Fi or cell phone signals, previously you had a completely Wi-Fi free environment, for example, you can see that within seconds and minutes in the blood, that the blood starts to clot and things like that. So you can see that impact on the heart rate variability, which is directly linked to the autonomic nervous system. You know, you can, there's just a lot of measurements you can undertake. And then obviously those are just short-term effects, and that leads into long-term negative results, right? So yeah, I hope that at some point the industry will actually also be more open about it, and then we can all, you know, figure out solutions. And thankfully there are solutions out there.
But they definitely know about it, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think by now it's hard to ignore, to be honest.
Especially when it's coming like more mainstream, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, when I was there, that was, you know, I think up to the year 2011, 12 or something like that. I think that was a time where maybe some people knew about it and probably were aware, you know, but the vast majority of the people like had no clue, or indeed thought, hey, you know, there's some random people talking about negative effects, but there are no negative effects. And that's really what they believed. And I think now it's come much more in the public awareness that there's much more knowledge about that. And yeah, I leave it at that.
These crazy conspiracy theorists online are actually, they have some truth, don't they?
Well, you know, exactly. I mean, so it's a fact that it has, besides all the great advantages it has for a convenient life, it adds difficulties and a stressor. And you know, there may be some groups that like it, that there are stressors for humans out there. You know, I don't want to get into that. I don't think we need to really discuss this here, but we can do something about it, and that's the beauty. And the solution does not need to be to tear down the cell phone towers and not use it. And the solution also does not need to be that I, completely block off my home and everything around me with EMF blocking silver, for example. I mean, we do have EMF blocking clothing that is on top of that charged with quantum energy, which is kind of cool in certain situations. If you're in an electric car, if you are in an airplane, then your exposure to EMF is greatly higher even. And for very sensitive people, those things are really cool. If you have your organs covered with an EMF protective t-shirt that also emits quantum energy, it's just super awesome. But still, that does not need to be the solution for the vast majority. We've created a technology that can actually harmonize the EMFs in a very large radius so that you can use 4G, 5G, 3G, Wi-Fi, whatever, with all your signals. You can be on your phone and everything, but it doesn't have a negative effect anymore on the body, that is the cool thing.
Why do we want to focus on that instead of blocking?
Well, don't you want to be in a room where if you need to work or be on a Zoom call, you usually need Wi-Fi, right? So if you block that, then you can't go about your day. You couldn't even look anything up in the internet if then the phone wouldn't work, right? So I think it would be very inconvenient.
I'm just interrupting this episode really quick to tell you about an exciting new offer that you don't want to miss. Reprogram, my 6-week group coaching program, is currently open for enrollment, and there are still spaces up for grabs. This program is designed to help you restore your energy and balance your female hormones on a physical and energetic level. This is truly a holistic program, and I'm going to be sharing all of the tools and techniques that I use successfully with my one-to-one clients that have provided life-changing results for them. Here's what's included. So you're going to get 6 live calls with me and 9 other ladies. It's a small group of 10 in total, and they're going to be held every Wednesday at 7 p.m. UK time, which is 2 p.m. EST, from the 18th of October to the 22nd of November. Subjects of the live calls include reprogramming your mindset, so getting really clear about future healthy, thriving you, and changing your belief from victim and someone who's suffering with health issues or doesn't like the female body and all that comes with it to I am healthy, I'm thriving, I am resilient, and just all of that good positive mindset that we need to have in order to heal. We're going to regulate your female nervous system, so understanding how the female nervous system is different, and I'm going to share a ton of tools that can help you to regulate your nervous system, because in order to heal, we need to have a parasympathetic nervous system instead of a sympathetic fight and flight mode. And we're also going to learn how to physically and energetically detox our bodies. So these are some of the live call subjects, but we're also going to have a ton of resources and additional course content between the calls and effective action steps for you to implement. So you're going to get some homework between the calls, and I'm going to teach you how to actually regulate your blood sugar levels and what you need to know about the subconscious mind. You also get a 60-minute one-to-one call with me, which you can use however you'd like. You can ask some questions about your health. We can do a deeper mindset technique together, or we can go through some lab results if you have any. You decide. I will also be sharing personalized supplement recommendations for you to follow for a few months, hypnosis track that's going to be created for your unique goals. So if you're wanting to manifest a promotion or you're wanting to clear your skin, I will create a personalized hypnosis track directly for you. There's also going to be a community aspect. So you'll leave this program with a group of new friends. There'll be a community on Telegram where you can connect between the live calls, share any wins that you have, ask questions. So you'll constantly feel supported the entire time. And this is literally the perfect time to join because A, it's going to be the lowest price it will ever be, with it being a beta test round. B, you can get started on your healing journey now instead of waiting until the new year or next time or on Monday I'm going to start now and start to see some changes in your life, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And C, it is your chance to get personalized support from me, which I know if you're listening to this, if we haven't worked together already, I'm sure you're interested. If you're trying to figure it out on your own, here is the chance to fast track your improvements, your results, and get get support from an expert who has worked in the health field for about 8 years now. So did I mention that this is a fraction of the cost of my one-to-one package as well? So it's just going to be one payment of £655 or two payments of £350, which is an absolute steal, if I do say so myself. So you can secure your place now by sending me an email or DM. There'll be links in the show notes to do so. And I will see you at the very first live call in a few weeks' time. Someone was doing like a phone case, like an iPhone case that blocked EMF. And they actually found that it was making the EMF stronger because it was trying to like penetrate through the barrier. So it's just totally
well,
pointless.
I mean, there are some there's actually a lot of solutions out there that don't work. Also, these little stickers, that you can put on the back of your cell phone. I mean, I don't want to say that none of those work, but we tested 12 different kinds of these. I mean, not us, but the leading EMF Testing and Research Institute that's independent in Europe did that. And there's no efficacy whatsoever. It didn't do anything. And then we tested it also with EMF meters, and we didn't find anything either. So yeah, a lot of those solutions out there are crap. So, and that's where we come in with completely a different approach, because it may sound crazy that there's a technology you could put in your home or office and that it literally harmonizes in maybe even a 400-meter radius the EMFs, and there's no negative impact, right? And we realize that some people may have a hard time understanding it because it's such a new technology. So we had lots of different labs and institutes test our products to actually show what they do. So we give them our products, they do the testing. And while in the early times, really, when we rolled out the tech, it was indeed before and after testing and all of that, it wasn't too scientific, I would say, right? Because if you do before and after tests, even though we had constantly amazing results, that's still something where you could, if you wanted to, you could fake a before and after test or something like that, or just make the environment in a way where you have one good shot basically that looks better than the other one or something like that. So very, very early on, we went into actual gold standard studies and worked with independent scientists, institutes, and labs that are specialized in running such trials, right? That are randomized, sham controlled, or you could say placebo controlled, and that are blinded to, whether it's single blinded or double blinded, so that you rule out completely any placebo effect, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Either it works or it doesn't, right? And it can be very clearly shown. And if we just look at the blood studies that were done, for example, it shows that in 100% of the cases, the technology works. And it doesn't just work a little bit, it actually improves your blood in a very, very significant way. And it eliminates and neutralizes literally at 100% of all the detrimental impacts you can see from Wi-Fi onto your blood, for example. And it improves it even further. And we're talking minutes. We're literally talking just like 10 minutes time. The tests were usually done between 5 to 15 minutes. So it's a very, very short time frame. It can, even reverse stage 1 and stage 2 of blood clotting very quickly. It can increase the white blood cell activity motility, which that is your force as part of the immune system. If your white blood cells are paralyzed, then you have a real issue. And that's what Wi-Fi actually tends to do. And that was also shown, in these studies. If Wi-Fi was turned on, then white blood cells tend to get paralyzed. The parasitic load in the blood was able to be decreased. So there's just a lot of physical evidence of this. And there's a lot more, but that's just the EMF part. And EMF is an important factor, obviously, but our technology can do way more than just harmonize EMF. That's just a very nice side effect.
And what type of product is this? Because I had someone on my podcast about 3 years ago now, and he was talking about the same types of things. But I bought a product from him, and it was just an EMF neutralizer, but it didn't have the whole energy kind of healing side of things too. That company is
Yeah.
called Memon. Have you heard of them before?
Yeah, I've heard of them before, and usually indeed those companies, they have something where it does a little bit with EMF, and I'm sure it also has efficacy if they were on your show, and but then they don't do anything else. So again, so if we look at our block technology, maybe I'll need to back off a little bit
Yeah, I was
because
going to ask, like,
to
what
explain
is
to
the product?
people,
Because that one's like a plug-in. Is it like a
yeah.
plug-in to the wall, or?
No, our product you don't plug into the wall. So we're the only company actually that we know of at least that works with pure 100% natural quantum energy. And none of these other companies know even how to do that. They usually work with magnetic brute force, electric brute force. They work with earthbound energies like crystals, for example. And that's pretty much it. So we work with a pure natural quantum energy, which is the energy behind the matter. It's literally the foundation in which, or the umbrella in which all frequencies exist. Like the whole frequency spectrum exists within the quantum field. And it's also the energy we have in each of our cells. So each cell contains a quantum energy field, and that's how the cells communicate at all times. Now, if you, and the breakthrough really that we created is that we were able to harness and concentrate this pure quantum energy in a way where it can be leveraged, for any physiological organism. And it really doesn't just stop at humans, right? It's for plants. I mean, I could show you a beet, Lily, that is this big that we just got like 2 weeks ago out of our quantum greenhouse, because vegetables grow faster and grow bigger and taste better. It helps pets and all animals basically, and so it does humans. And so the EMF aspect is really just, if you just take the extension of our technology, which is the block technology, it would be an infinity block or a grand block or travel. We have different sizes, but it's always a block, where if you put it in your home office and you don't do anything with it, then it takes care of all the harmonizing, of all frequencies, by the way, not just EMF. There's also other frequencies that can be detrimental that we don't really know much about. But now then you can start actually using it. And that's where none of those other products can do any of this. You could put your hands inside, for example, and have a much greater effect that it has on the cells. For example, it was just shown in a randomized double-blind study that it can increase human ATP production, which is the energy production of the human cells, by 20 to 29%, which by itself is a medical breakthrough. We've spoken with Dave Asprey, who's the father of biohacking. He wrote a whole book about ATP production, and he said, well, you can maybe do these 10, 11 things all at the same time, and then you can maybe get it to 20 to 25% increase, but certainly not to 29% increase, and certainly not, I mean, this is something that's completely non-invasive, right?
Yeah,
Like
imagine doing
you don't
all
have
that
to.
stuff plus the block.
Well, I mean, then you could probably do even more. Yeah, but
Yeah.
possibly, but you could just have the blog again, and then it already takes care of that. So we have now world-class athletes using our products because of that, because they need to get obviously the best optimal ATP production they can in their performances and practice. Anyway, so that was just what it does with the cells. It was also shown in a different university lab study that it accelerated wound healing of human cells by 85 to 100%. So it's quite remarkable what you can actually do, what positive impact it has really physically that you can measure. It has a positive impact on the heart rate variability, on the parasympathetic, all these things. Now, on top of that, you can now charge water. For example, you can structure water. If you put it in the famous Emoto Institute out of Japan, they ran an analysis and were able to find out that our tech, even the weakest of our devices, the quantum block, was able to improve water in 3 minutes more than anything else they'd ever seen before. And so in their world, they look at, so they freeze the water and then they can show the energetic state visually, literally by showing these crystals in the water that the water actually has. And they have a method on how to show that. It's like a photo basically of the frozen water. And so they have a control water, and then they have the water that got charged. And out of one beautiful crystal, the quantum block made 5 beautiful crystals within just 3 minutes, which is remarkable. And you can do that with groceries. So you could put your fruits inside, you can put your vegetables inside, you could, I mean, even sugar. It has actually been shown. That's one thing we don't claim yet. And I want you to not try this at home now if you're listening, because we need more data points. But we've heard from many people that when they're allergic to certain substances or have a food sensitivity, against gluten or crab meat or lemon or all these things, they could tolerate these substances with no allergic reaction when they charge these substances in our infinity block or travel block or grand block for about 4 minutes. Now, we had heard so many of these stories, and then we had actually done a live experiment, live on stage at the big biohacking conference in front of over 100 people, where we showed there was a guy that's allergic to crab meat, and they put crab meat in his left arm, and he got an instant allergic reaction. He got all red, he got blisters even, and it started to itch. It was really uncomfortable. The same crab meat they put live on stage in our infinity block, and then the scientists, after the charging, took it out, put it in his other arm in front of all these people, and there was no allergic reaction. There's actually a video on our YouTube channel that can be watched. So now we took that and said, okay, so if so many people are reporting this, there must be something there. So we need to facilitate research, because just based on anecdotal evidence, you cannot make claims, and also you don't want to make claims because it's way too risky, right? There's so many food sensitivities out there, and we certainly don't want anyone to get hurt. So there's a clinic in Munich in Germany that has run a pilot study, and they've shown that by charging the foods or substances, I think they tested gluten, lactose, and several other substances. They showed a 65 to 95% reduction in allergy response, which is quite remarkable. And they also tested, and they tested sugar. And so sugar is something, we love our chocolate, right? I mean, I do at least. And so, but it has a stress response to the human body. And it was also shown that it was a 70 to 80% reduction in stress response of the body when you charged the truffle or chocolate before you ate it, which is quite remarkable. But it was just a pilot study. So please don't try this yet at home. We're working on a larger study as we speak. But those are the types of things you can do. Then just to finish that real quick, because you asked, okay, what else can you do with it? You can charge water groceries, as I just said. You can charge permanently a silverware or any material you want. You can charge your phone, for example. If you put your phone inside, then for the next 3-4 months, it is so charged that you couldn't measure any negative effects of the phone onto your body. You can increase the vibration of any jewelry you have, and you can literally see that. People that can see energy and perceive energy, they see it. And people that can't perceive energy well, they'll at least tell you it looks more beautiful, and they don't know why. They know it just looks more beautiful. And yeah, those are some of the main applications. There's more you can do with it.
A few of the little things it can do. My mind is blown.
Yeah, you can do actually even more, but I also don't want to talk the whole time and get to you the chance to ask questions.
That's so cool, especially the food sensitivity part, because that's something that I struggled with massively. I think as a result of the Lyme and the mold and other things, I developed mast cell activation syndrome, which is basically where you become sensitive to chemicals and just sunlight sometimes, foods. And at one point, I was down to about 10 foods. And even then I was starting to develop sensitivity. So that would have been a game changer if I would have known about this. But this was like a few years ago. How long's the company been around, by the way?
About 3 years.
Okay.
I mean, the company has been around for longer, but that we have the products publicly available, that's about 3 years.
And just to clarify, just for my sake, the way that it's charging it, is that just adding more like energy to your body? Like we run off this energy and this life force, so when we charge our things, it's just adding to that and making us stronger.
Yeah, pretty much. You can think of it that way. My analogy often is that, if you go into the desert and you run out of water, then you'll feel it at some point. You get really super thirsty, and then even more time afterwards, you get really depleted of that. And then at some point, if someone is then there, you're almost dead, and gives you a bottle of water and you drink it, that's this feeling of, oh my God, I'm just recharging. You get this power back. And on an energetic level, that's pretty much what a strong, powerful source of quantum energy can do, that it helps you to recharge yourself on that energetic level indeed. And EMFs and other stressors, they can deplete us, and also objects, physical objects, of quantum energy. So it's sort of like a countermeasure that you can take, and that's how I would describe it indeed.
Okay. And what are some other things that both like steal our energy and give us energy?
So, I mean, it's the great poisoning. I call it the great poisoning, which is, whether it's on purpose or not on purpose, is completely irrelevant. But if we look at water, people that drink tap water, usually, no matter where you look, it's filled with fluoride and other toxins, and not necessarily good water. Then you may find even microplastics in water and stuff like that, right? So water is the most important thing we take in, and we want to make sure we drink very clean, very good and positive water.
And what is structured water that you mentioned before?
Yeah, so first of all, so you could remove all toxins, for example, with a reverse osmosis filter, as an example. There's lots of different filters that you could use, but that would be one that literally cleans it out of everything. The problem afterwards is then pretty much dead water. It's there's no toxins in there, but it's also not alive. It is not structured. It is not informed of anything positive. So what our tech does, it literally structures it in a way where it gives the water its original core optimal state again, or you could it sort of turns it into like a healing water. The word healing is always a difficult one to use, especially if you run a company, but that's kind of to make this visible, what that means. And you can then absorb it in a different way. It becomes available in a different way to the body, that you feel much more hydrated afterwards. You can leverage the water much better to flush out toxins and to rejuvenate the body. That's pretty much what it does. Okay. And by the way, with our tech, you can also copy frequencies, any frequency you want, whether that's from a healing plan, from your favorite supplements, or from whatever. You can copy this frequency and you can imprint it into objects, but you can also imprint it into water. So I could now take this glass of water, for example, and put it in one of our blocks, and take a piece of a healing plant inside of the block with it. And after 30, 45 seconds, the frequency of that healing plant is also in the water, and then I can drink it. So it's pretty fascinating. I could also not put a water glass in there and just take a silver coin, and then I have the frequency of the healing plant in the silver coin vibrating. If I hold it in my hand, I have the information of the healing plant literally vibrating in my hand. So that's,
I would just charge like every single one of my items in my house.
Yeah.
Just looking around, like just 5 minutes of that, 5 minutes of that.
Yep. Well, I mean, and that's actually what people really do. So we have a private Telegram group with over 6,500 members by now. Certainly just a subset of our overall base, but those are the ones that are just most interested in discovering new things and charging stuff. And they're constantly finding out new things they can charge and they can optimize, and they develop even new products and new recipes and things like that. It's pretty fascinating. So people love to do that indeed, because what you do is you increase the vibrational state of these objects, and it has a positive impact on the environment that these objects then are in. And you can calibrate that as well as our products on the so-called Hawkins scale. And that goes a little bit away from the hardcore science that we have available, and it's much more a woo-woo concept, but there's the so-called Hawkins scale with consciousness levels, right? So the lower vibrational states are the low levels of consciousness, like anger and guilt, shame. If we're in these states, then we're vibrating very low. And that's also something that we call into our lives, because that the law of attraction, right, it is nothing else but if what we think, we become. What we think and what we feel, we invite into our lives. And that is often actually subconsciously, right? So if we vibrate in the level of anger, for example, we'll attract anger into our lives, right? If we vibrate deficit, or we always think we don't have enough, I don't have enough, I'm lacking this, I'm lacking that, I always need something, then that's exactly what I'm going to be having in my life. I'm not going to be living abundance. And if people were to just understand that concept, then we would do the work within, because doing the work within shifts everything in the world around us. And so our blogs, they calibrate higher on the Hawkins scale than any other products in the world that are publicly available. And so these super high vibrational states make it that they signal to you to also vibrate higher. And as you vibrate higher, you get out of these lower consciousness states into higher consciousness states, and you can start to clean up your inner world. Basically, you can open up more, and you can let more beautiful things into your life. Now, again, while that is the case, that's harder to prove with hardcore science, of course, but that's the level actually the technology works on the consciousness and energetic level, and all these physical results that you can then validate with double-blind studies that are placebo-controlled. They're just a result of that.
Yeah, side benefit of just raising our energetic potential. And
Yes.
the high emotions, I'm guessing, like love, gratitude, joy, those types of things.
Yeah, so on the Hawkins scale, if you go into the level of 500, that would be the level of unconditional love. Level 540 is joy, and then it keeps going into the so-called enlightenment zone, basically, which is a really large zone actually. That's pretty much how that works. Yes.
Okay. And how do you make these products?
Yes.
I just can't comprehend it. How is it this good?
So how we do it initially with the actual charging initially, we don't share that. That's the only secret sauce we don't share. But now that we have our technology, we make all of our products with that technology. For example, we have this so-called Heal capsule, right? Which is that's the all-rounder product that you see a lot of people wear, like in the biohacking scene, for example, or also like a water bottle we have. Those are charged with specific frequencies that are very beneficial for the human body to activate self-healing powers. They contain the molecular frequencies of the most important vitamins and minerals for the human body, as an example. And then they're on top of that charged. And so what we do is we create these frequencies, and there's different methods, right? A molecular frequency you would always derive from a substance. So for example, if we wanted to have the molecular frequency of vitamin C, we would just take the best available organic vitamin C that's available and copy the frequency of it with our technology. And we could put it, as I said, into any object we want to, right? So in this case, it would be placed together with all these other specific frequencies into a capsule, and then it would be upcharged with pure quantum energy, so that there's a radius where if you wear the capsule, you have it in your pocket, it has a radius basically, and within that radius, it actually harmonizes EMF just for the wearer, and it provides you with these frequencies like a buffet where your body can basically pick and choose what it needs. Do I need vitamin D? Do I need vitamin whatever? Or an organic plant extract information, so I can just take that in as needed. That's pretty much how that works.
And your team
if
very
you have a
kindly
blog,
sent one of the necklaces as well, so thank you for that.
oh yeah, no, absolutely. You're welcome. And so that's also something that people can start doing at home, because you can start experimenting, right? If you have your favorite supplement set, for example, you can indeed do that. Just take a silver coin or like a metal plate, and you can charge the frequencies of your favorite supplements onto that, and then leverage that. And what it will do is that you will actually need less of these supplements in the future. And if you take them physically, they actually work better and they're stronger. So there's it's quite remarkable how that works. And for very few people, that's really a minority, a strong minority, but it's still there. They wouldn't need the physical supplementation anymore at all. But we haven't quite figured out why that's just a low percentage, and it probably has to do with the vibrational state in general. So
that would be like music to some of my listeners' ears, because they've probably got the great supplement graveyard, I like to call it, of like a million products that they've tried. They're ordering supplements every month. And I love supplements and I use them myself, but it would be so good to not need them.
yeah,
And just have
you
a
can.
product instead that does all of these amazing things.
Yeah, so if you just listen into the Telegram group, for example, or you can ask questions, like people can ask questions, you'll find people tell you exactly that. You don't need to hear it from me, but we've had people even with thyroid medication, they charged that onto, I don't know, some metal carrier, and over time they were able to get off it completely. So again, there's, for some of these things, there's so many different variables that it's hard to predict things or to give guidance. But if we're just talking about supplements, vitamins, minerals, and all of that, indeed you can start to reduce. You can become way more intuitive, because we tend to always overthink things, and then we're like, okay, I gotta take my supplements every day, just like that, and it becomes just an automatic habit, and we don't feel into our bodies anymore. Do I actually need it today, right? And so as we're using this technology, we also become more sensitive to that, and we become more sensitive to really what is really true and right for us at a given moment. And that's the real power, if we can start tapping into the intuition. What I had lost, when I started my journey in the early 2000s, that's really where a lot of people are. They don't trust their intuition. It's foreign to them. And as we get more access to that, we become healthier, because also it may not be the best that you're taking, hundreds of supplements every day, right? It may actually be detrimental on its own.
I think it works both ways as well with the intuition. I found that the healthier I got physically, the more I could tap into my intuition, because before I just had severe brain fog and zero energy. And in terms of like supplements, if you have such low energy that your digestion is weak, you're probably not even going to be absorbing that. So we need to work on the absolute foundation of life, which is energy first. And then if you still have the physical symptoms, you maybe could do some extra like physical support. And obviously like eating a good quality diet is important, but yes, so many things just come down to cellular energy.
Exactly. Yep.
Wow,
Well
this is
put.
so great. So I want to finish up with just a few more questions for you, if that's okay. So the first one is there a book that you would recommend on this subject, or anything about quantum healing, quantum physics?
Yeah, so while the 22 Nobel Prize for Physics was actually awarded on work regarding quantum entanglement, and with our tech you can actually apply quantum entanglement yourself, I don't really point people towards quantum mechanics like at all, because I actually think it's a rabbit hole that's full of theory and with little practice. And it gets very complicated to understand, and things are simple, that's usually where you find the truth. And I think a great book is Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins,
Okay.
that I recommend, as an audiobook. Especially you need to get through the first 10 minutes because those are incredibly boring, and then it gets super exciting, like super exciting. You'll learn so much about the law of attraction, about your vibrational states, about the consciousness scales, and so many things you probably have not heard about, and it's really cool.
Thanks for the forewarning. I might have just like listened. I'd be like, "What is this?" Turned it off after 5 minutes. So I'll stick with it. But I've never heard of that one before, so I'll be sure to download. Is there something else that you do daily? So obviously you're using your products with how good they are, but is there anything else that you are really into and consistent with? Is it like movement? Is it your diet? Is it getting out into nature?
Yeah, there's really something I do literally every day, because I do switch things up, but I can say what I do probably 4 or 5 days a week. I do some yoga, I do breath work. Those are definitely things I do. I do a specific dervish exercise, that's actually on my personal Instagram. I posted that. It's just where you turn around like 33 times very quickly, and then after that you stand. It's very great to increase your vibration, but it's also physically very uplifting and beneficial. Those are the things I do. And then I would say at least 3 or 4 times a week, I just eat once a day, and that once a day maybe I eat over like a period of an hour or two or even three, but I don't have like three meals. But at the same time, I'm very intuitive with this. So and I can, if there's a conference going on where we have a booth or whatever, and then we have business dinners and there's some breakfast with people, and I never limit myself. I'm not like, oh, but I got to stick to this. You know what I mean? That just puts me into some form that's not me. But I usually come back to that because I feel usually better when I can arrange it, that I eat just do this like intermittent fasting.
Good. Yeah, I love that. Practicing what you preach, going with the flow, being intuitive. That's great. And then is there a piece of advice that just summarizes what we've covered today? Like a takeaway words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. Yes. So I would reference Tesla, who said that if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And I think that's one of the most powerful quotes, because at core, we're all energy and frequency. And we're now, as humanity, really at the point where we're starting to remember that. And it's almost funny. Like once you realize that, actually, you're like, oh my God. I mean, 99.9% of the people don't know that their energy and frequency, even that's the most fundamental truth.
It's so sad.
Like how far removed are we from ourselves? But the good news is now the energy is actually shifting on Earth. Also, it becomes way easier for us to tap back into that. And with that quote, that helps you, as a little guidance, just really start thinking in terms of energy and frequency, and also be kind. Like be kind, because we're all connected, right? And we've proven this. There's lots of other people that have proven this, that we're all connected, and what you put out affects you basically also. And so be kind to other people. Try to get into the states of love and maybe gratitude. The gratitude is a good one, because it's pretty easy to achieve if you think about things you're grateful for, and it helps you and it helps others around you. So
and that's one of the 12 laws of the universe. There's a law of attraction, but then there's also, I think it's the law of divine oneness or something. So people just think of the law of attraction and the like attracts like, but there's actually 11 other laws. But you mentioned Tesla. What do you think of his electric cars and these EMFs?
So, well, I don't know if it's his electric cars, to be honest, because the company is called Tesla now, but it has little to do with Nikola Tesla.
He's gotten out there.
Yeah. So I think, his name in that case is sort of misused, probably. I think he was an amazing inventor. I think he really understood things that most scientists nowadays have no clue even about. He understood the ether and how to pull energy out of the ether. And most scientists nowadays have no clue what I'm even talking about when I mention that. Then they should maybe go look at his work. But EMF, filled electric cars. I mean, we even ran a study. The Besa Institute, I must say, in Austria, ran that study with electric cars, and it shows. And everyone actually can test that on their own. Like, you don't even need to be an institute. You just take an EMF meter and go into a regular gas operated car and test the EMF level there. And then you go into an electric car and test it there. And then please drive for 30, 60 minutes in the electric car and keep measuring. You'll see how it increases. It's absolutely massive. The exposure of EMF is ridiculous. It's terrible. It can cause migraines, even like lasting migraines and things like that. So it's really not positive. But again, good news. The Base Institute showed that if you just put a block into the car or use our quantum upgrade, it neutralizes all these negative effects. So it's definitely possible. But yeah, people should be aware of it.
Yeah. Good to know. And last question is, where can people find you online? So you mentioned your personal Instagram. I would love to, if we can put in the show notes, the Telegram group. Is that okay?
Yeah, so I'm happy to get that to you.
Yeah.
It's a private group, so you can't find it on Telegram if you search for it, but we can provide the invite link for you, of
course. I'm sure people would love to get access to that. But also your website, just remind us of that. Everything will be in the show notes. But yeah, just before we finish, that's my very last question for you.
Yeah, sounds good. So, I mean, they can find me there on the Telegram group also. So even if you click on my icon and send me a message, feel free to do that. I mean, just don't send me random stuff, but if you have an
here's my life story
or something,
and the answer is probably, if they're asking, can the quantum blocks help? The answer is probably going to be yes.
Well, yeah, that question you can actually ask in the group, right? So because you may want to hear from those people there, but again, so I do answer all of the messages that I get. It may take some time, but I do answer.
Yeah, and what's your website for your products if people want to check them out?
That's leelaq.com, leelaq.com.
Perfect. Well, this has been fascinating. I've honestly loved it so much, learning about this whole world. I kind of already knew some of this, but learning more about your product, I wish I would have known about it 3 years ago, but I might have to invest in one of the products alongside my Memon, because it just doesn't have the same effects, it sounds like. But thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and creating these products. I really feel like it's going to change so many people's lives, and hopefully they continue to spread the word and get this message out there. This is why I wanted to have you on the podcast, so that I could share with my corner of the internet these fascinating products. So yeah, thanks again, Philipp, for coming on the show today.
Thanks so much for having me on.
I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, I would love for you to leave me a rating and review on your podcast app, as this helps to support the show and it allows it to reach more people with this valuable information. Come and say hi over on Instagram. I'm at Viva Natural Health. And if you haven't already, check out my website, vivanaturalhealth.co.uk, for tons more free resources and to discover how I could support you further. I currently offer one-on-one consultation packages if you want my top-level support, then more affordable group programs and self-paced online courses. So there really is something for everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back here next week for another episode.